Hello again. COVID-19 cases may be on the decrease here in South Africa, but in some parts of the global north, new cases are said to be on the rise. According to the World Health Organization, the BA.5 Omicron variant is behind a massive surge in global cases over the last 2 weeks. The variant is now said to be dominant in Europe and in the United States. So why was our BA.5 wave less severe here in South Africa? Did our collective hybrid immunity play a part? Let's unpack this latest development with epidemiologist Dr. Joe Barnes. Dr. Barnes, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time on this Friday afternoon. Welcome to today here on eNCA. What's going on with this variant, which I see that some news reports in the global north are describing as the worst variant?
Good afternoon to you and to our viewers. A little bit of that may perhaps be journalistic license. It certainly is highly infectious, but we do not yet know whether it is causing more severe disease. So far, it looks as if it still causes the kind of disease that you would expect from the previous Omicron variants, which, thank heavens, was clinically not as desperate as the third wave, for instance. But South Africa is always slightly behind. The global south is always slightly behind the global north when it comes to the upsurges in cases. So we have no guarantee that we have been spared. I don't think we can be that optimistic.
We cannot be that optimistic. So we need to be really understanding that the pandemic is far from over.
I'm so concerned about the sudden drop of all restrictions in our country, and I suspect it was more for popular reasons or even perhaps political reasons. It had not a lot to do with community health. I'm concerned now that everybody has been celebrating Freedom Day. They don't have to wear a mask anymore, and they can gather where they want to. It's going to be very difficult to get the population back into mask wearing and into cautious behavior. I personally said so, and some of my colleagues said that they think that this dropping of all restrictions was premature, and it would look like we were right.
Yeah, well, but one wonders, I mean, speaking for myself, not as an expert, just consuming the information that scientists like yourselves and others communicate with us, that what would be the right thing to do? Would we ever know? I'm seeing some reports today that in China, where COVID-19 began in December 2019, November, December 2019, when the first cases were reported globally, they're already considering in major cities there to reinforce strict lockdown. I'm afraid
the signs aren't good, and I have another little bit of bad news for you, and that is behind the BA.4 and BA.5 that's driving much of the total upsurge we're seeing in, for instance, the US and the UK. There's now another new subvariant, BA.2.75, called Centaurus, something like that, Centaurus. That seems to be even more highly infectious, and it is in a week exploded in India. So this virus is unfortunately not done with us.
And it keeps on evolving at such a fast rate with all these new variants. It looks like the steroids it has taken are still in its system. I mean, how can we prepare for something like we're not really sure how it's going to hit us? If, as you say, Dr. Barnes, that the global south, like South Africa and others, always delay or are always behind the curve in following global north, shouldn't we be revisiting some of these restrictions here?
I'm so concerned to see the low drive, the low attention paid to vaccination. And I think we actually owe our relatively positive situation at the moment to a certain proportion of our population, not big enough, that have been vaccinated. In the long term, we will need better vaccines that can help us not only do this version and that variant, but a much more general protection. But there's a huge amount of work being done on that. But what we have at the moment for ourselves is mask wearing, getting vaccinated or getting booster shots if you are, when you qualify for that. And my concern is it's getting quite difficult to find a vaccination station that is open. There's been a real fall off in any kind of attention and indications and encouragement for the population to go. So that we're going to pay for that.
That sounds ominous. You mentioned a drop in the availability of vaccination centers. You mentioned a booster shot. I got my second Pfizer booster shot a few weeks ago in June, after 6 months, because I had my first booster in January. But the levels of immunity, we've been made to believe in South Africa, community immunity, the herd immunity. I don't like using the word herd. It's more applicable to animals in my books. But community immunity, is it not high enough now? We have so many cases in this country. Or you think we'll need to get more people vaccinated? I mean, those above the ages of 50 are sort of doing better than the lower ages in our demographics.
Unfortunately, young people tend to think that they are invincible and nothing will happen to them. So there are special approaches one needs to talk to young people about vaccination. But yes, we are not nearly where we need to be. And for this particular virus, which is very sly, your immunity tends to wane, to fade rather fast. So just the fact that a long time ago you had one of the 2 shots that you were supposed to get doesn't give you immunity by now. Vaccination, and I know there are emotional reactions to wearing masks. People find them uncomfortable, etc. And some said people can't see me smile. But you know, a smile is not an important thing if you're lying in intensive care and you're gasping for breath. Please weigh up your reasons that you are using to talk to yourself about not wearing a mask and not doing this and not doing that. Just make sure that you understand the risks that you are taking.
Yeah, you're quite right there, Dr. Barnes. Maybe we can see a smile from you now as we say goodbye, and thank you very much for this time. It's an ominous time indeed. We need to pay attention. We appreciate your insights. That's epidemiologist Dr. Joe Barnes here on Today. Just one line that caught me in a report I saw earlier about this. This newest variant, which in the north, global north, UK and US, the media there is dubbing it as the worst variant of the coronavirus. They say that's a BA.4 or BA.5, but she's mentioned now, Dr. Barnes, there's another one, I forgot the name now, another BA something. But these two, BA.4 and BA.5, currently fueling a global surge in cases, 30% over the past fortnight, and that's the World Health Organization warning. So just be mindful, take care, please, especially if you know that you've got underlying conditions.